The Virgin line?
Virgin Lines. It was
You have to do with the city, because that wasn't a sheriff's office here. The only other thing I have is I'll let Lieutenant Bukowski talk about it, was there was a boating accident today within the district. That's where we were at before we came, so I'll let him brief that since his guys are assigned it.
One question for you. Remember when Jerry came and we voted to get that little sonar thing that you could pull behind the boat?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you pull that sonar thing through a dredge project so we can see the bottom and see what kind of dredge?
You can pull that thing anywhere in the world.
So if they come and dredge, or so if they just dredged out, or said they did, over there at the bottom boat ramp, they were just line dredging, they can do
Yes.
that? Can we drive that?
It's a huge difference, I can tell you just from bringing boats in and out.
But it should be,
It
there
is
was a lot of dredging.
Huge
going on.
difference of depth.
Okay, can we get, the thing is though, when you do a channel or anything like that, if you leave one high spot, it's no good, the whole project. So I would just like to go through there, because they were dredging so properly, and see if we can see the
We
channel.
can do that, that'd be good training for us, just
I
to
would
use
like
it.
that.
Anything else for me?
Sorry. Who's next?
I got a long one this time.
I'll stand for him. He got one and asked me about that.
I want to hear about the boat accident.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, sir.
You have 3 minutes. Can you start?
Yeah.
Steve Zukowski, Lieutenant Patrol Supervisor for Fish and Wildlife Commission, Coastal Flagler, St. Johns County. We'll start with the boating and waterways update. We'll do the boating accident first, and I'll get into the EVs and actress vessels. So approximately 1:30 today, we had a 39-foot motorboat, 2 white males, right? They're white. Okay. Heading south near Tulsa Waterway. They're Palm Coast men, presumably going back that way. And they're on plane, ran hard aground on that long sandbar that is just to the east of the channel, basically east of the St. Augustine Shores Fishing Pier, out here at nav marker 31. So what happened is both the men on board were injured. One sustained back and neck injuries, and the other one had serious facial lacerations in the mouth area. So was it county or city responded to pick them up? Okay. Responded, took them to Crane Park boat ramp for medical transport. The gentleman, I just got a call from Officer Miller, the gentleman who had the neck and back injuries, just being treated, just got a few suture stitches for a knee. He's going to be released. The gentleman with the serious facial lacerations is going up to Memorial Hospital in Jacksonville. So he'll be treated up there. It looks like, and before everyone said, and what the lieutenant would brief me on, going to be some extensive, cosmetic surgery, plastic surgery, facial reconstruction. It's not cosmetic at that point. So that's what he's going to need. Vessel is, commercial assistance is going to tow the vessel off the sandbar after. It's going to be Officer Bill Miller and Officer Alex Alvarez. I was hoping he'd be here today so I could introduce you. He's a new officer to our area, came back to FWC. He's going to be working over in Putnam for a while. Hopefully he'll get back over here in St. John. So they're going to be handling the boating accident investigation. It doesn't rise to the level of our investigation section getting involved. Investigator Megan Thomas is back over at Flagler right now, I think. She's going to give us also an update on the gentleman there.
Is that last spot in the channel? Or is it?
No, it's okay. Let me just give a little background on this particular.
Is that the one that's kind of hard, that's around the mooring, where everybody's anchored around there?
Basically, if you're on the St. Augustine Shores Fishing Pier, just look to the west. It's a long bar. It's fairly narrow. So at high tide or mid tide, you could actually be right up or going close to the marsh grass in a boat that's shallow, drafting on a plane, and make it right through there. And at high tide, you can skip right over it. The issue with that bar is, in this bar, we've had some notorious boating accidents in the past. From about a decade ago, or 8 years ago, we had a mother and her daughter on a PWC following the husband, father on a PWC. It was a weekday, just like today, nice weather, and he basically in a PWC, that bar was maybe 3 inches underwater, didn't see it. And the problem with that bar is you go from very deep water to shallow water very quickly, so it's a hard stop. It's not a soft stop where you just kind of. So the gentleman at PWC hit that thing and then basically, hit the handlebars hard and came off, and I think he hit his head also on the sandbar. So he died instantly.
Oh, God.
Right in front of his wife and the daughter.
When did that occur?
That was probably about 8 to 10 years ago.
Yeah, those are dangerous.
That happened.
Yeah.
So this bar, if you don't have local knowledge of what's going on and you're not paying attention to how far you're getting out of the channel, it's treacherous because again, it's not a soft stop. On a lot of places, it's a hard stop where you go from speed to that's it. And, you know, if anyone's run aground here, maybe you haven't, I've run aground more times than all my officers combined. That was, well, it's a lot of history behind that, so we're not getting to that. But I've been a victim of both of those stops. And the hard stop is the one we're gonna have the bad injuries. And
Maybe we should look at marking that bar, the way we did the one in the, by the city warranty, which was getting hit too.
well, if you put up like PVC pipes with reflective material on it, that's, they're just gonna be taken down by people. I mean, you may be able to talk about getting one of those waterway markers we have for rocky areas that we have around the state. That might be something that the county wants to talk to our voting waterway people about. But the issue with that bar is it's long. I mean, it's probably a couple 300 yards long. So you can run around at any point.
You really do have to use the chart going through the intercoastal waterway.
The local knowledge, yes. And a 39-foot boat anyway should not be out of the channel. Even if you can run on the other side at high tide, you shouldn't be. You have to have local knowledge. So that's where we are with this, folks. But it looks like both people are going to be okay in terms of, no, at this point, no, long-term injuries or loss of a body part for an extended period of time. But that's what we know right now on that one. So.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but we had a woman walk into the hearing room during the government representative comments, and I want to make sure she's here for the Port Authority meeting and not planning and zoning later on. Okay, all right, we had that issue a couple months ago where someone sat through the whole 2 hours.
So that's where we're on. Any questions on that? And again, thanks to we have very good, here in our coastal waterway, it's a team effort. We all swarm to an area, so it happened to work out. We got great assistance from county and the city, and we're going to be taking the lead on the investigation on that. So
any warnings put on websites for voters to warn them about that area?
only maybe some local stuff. There's nothing official that I know of. You guys know of anything?
No, but the bar is on the outside of the navigator.
Yeah.
So if they don't follow the navigator
Yeah.
like you're supposed to, then you're gonna hit the bar.
He was directly parallel with the navigator.
Yeah, so like if he hit here, the navigator was right here. So he should have known he was on the wrong side.
Yeah. And that's, it's just like Congress said, it's just on the other side. There's not a soft stop, it's boom. So that's one of the problems with that thing. I tend to see some PWC groundings in there in warmer months, but you've had a bad injury there, like I said, about 10 years ago. So, any more questions on
It
it?
just seems like something ought to be done to warn people about that. If people are getting killed and getting injured.
Well,
badly.
that's one fatality 10 years ago. I don't know about this one. It doesn't seem like these people are gonna have, I don't know yet, but just on first impressions, it's a serious, they're having serious injuries, but not injuries that are gonna be debilitating for the rest of their lives.
That's like an aggravation era, more than it was. I mean, like you said, 39-foot boat getting outside the channel is silly.
We'll see. The investigator, I think, the gentleman up at Flyer right now, he's already given a statement to Investigator Thomas, and then I think Officer Miller, and Alvarez are gonna be heading up that memorial in Jacksonville to interview the other person if that's possible. So, hopefully by next month I'll have an update for you without divulging too much. I mean, we'll see if the investigation is wrapped up by then. Then it's pretty much public record, and I can give you some more information. But right now, this is about all I can give you. Just the basic fact of it, and that fact that is a treacherous bar because we have had other, and who knows how many injuries we've had there also that we haven't been reported. But I understand your concern on that.
Well, thank you for bringing it to our attention because I have not heard of it before.
If any of you would like to come out there, and right now, Yeah, it's low tide too. Yeah, so, if any of you would like to come out there in our boats, low tide one day, we'll give you a tour of it.
Oh, I totally want to do that.
I'm gonna do it too.
Although, someone's got a nicer boat than ours.
I'm gonna go on that one.
But,
Josh is
so, but I'm sure, or even the city boat would take you out there. So,
Well, I'd like to go too, but you know, two of us can't go at the same time. You know, if
You
you
have to
know,
make a mother trust.
so we can do that, I think. Okay, so let me move on before, Mr. Piggott falls off his seat back there. Derelict vessels in the area, so, how to do an update on this, on the derelict vessel database. Right now, in terms of derelict vessels, there are 7, in the FWC system. Lieutenant Irwin's people may have a couple in just their own in-house system, but there are 7. 4 FWC, 2 sheriffs, and then, I think Officer Harvey it's Officer, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he has 1, and that's the one that's right out of the water. I can speak R4, give you an update on R4. 3 of R4 are on there just awaiting removal. They've been through the process. The 4th one is eligible for removal by 5 o'clock today. The appeal hearing for the registered owner, he had an appeal, he did not show up for it, so he was given 30 more days to appeal or request another hearing, and that's done by the business today, so we'll have a 4th one. That's 4, there we go. We'll have a 4th one available, so the Fish and Wildlife ones right now should all be awaiting removal whenever the city is available to get to them. So that's our,
But who's coming to get those?
whoever's contracted.
Towboat? Towboat
No,
No, we have a contracted company.
yeah.
that's coming
And
to.
typically, correct me if I'm wrong, but typically you wait till you have several of them, so they make just one trip instead of several trips. So, and so will happen with that. At-risk vessels, I think we talked about this a little while ago, back in September, what's considered an at-risk vessel. We have, I pull this one up, we have, let's see, for my crew, 1, 2, we got into this project some more back in September. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we have 10. Of the 10, 5 of them have been removed because, from at risk, because the registered owner repaired the engine, and now the vessel is operational, or the sail, but these are all motor vessels. And then, we're waiting on one propulsion test also on another, and the other 3 we're trying to locate the owner, which always seems to be an issue. So if they're at risk, and at risk of becoming derelict vessels, and we can't locate the owner, then they'll probably go to the derelict vessel database. Because what that means is, for example, there may be open hatches, things like that, where rain can get in, and then the thing starts flooding, maybe pollutant discharge coming out of it, something like that. And so they would fall into that category, possibly. So that's where we are with the at-risk vessels. Any questions on those? Okay. Put that away. Resource or fishery. I'm not calling it resources and fisheries from now on because it involves more than fisheries, even though I know that's very much a purview of you guys, but I think y'all, commissioners, y'all, I think should hear it. This is a time of year where we have a lot of people harvesting oysters from prohibited areas, which is not a good thing because if you ingest oysters or eat oysters from a prohibited area, where because oysters are filter feeders, they flush the water through their system. It can lead, particularly in elderly people, to anaphylactic shock. So it's just not a matter of poaching from an area. It's a matter of if the oysters aren't coming from a conditionally approved or approved area, they can lead to serious illness, a public health issue. So what happened earlier in the month, or late last month, I can't remember, it was after the last meeting, Officer Jessica Dodd was getting aerial orientation with our pilot, Kara Kane, who flies her helicopter out of the St. Augustine Airport. And And while she was up there, and they're doing some observation over Matanzas, they noticed a boat harvesting oysters in a prohibited area north of Matanzas Inlet on the west side of the channel. So what happened was they radioed down to investigator Thomas, who was in the area, and they went back to the local boat ramp, and lo and behold, that there was a trailer there, and so when investigator Dodd got off the helicopter, she went down and met him. Boat came back in, it was a gentleman, and one was a commercial oysterman who knows better, and he'd been a chronic violator, and the other gentleman said he was just on the vessel harvesting oysters for recreational purposes for himself, even though he didn't know his fishing license had expired for a couple of years. So there's two issues there. One, you're taking them from a prohibited area. There's several issues. Two, you can't be a commercial harvester and a recreational harvester on the same trip. Three, the commercial gentleman didn't have the proper endorsements on his commercial fishing license that you need to have for shellfish. And then for the recreational gentleman, he hadn't had a license in 2 years. So what happened was the officer seized the oysters, and then they returned them back to the water later on, and the gentleman received notices to appear. Harvesting oysters or any shellfish from a prohibited area is a first-degree misdemeanor. It's serious because of the nature of the public health issue. It's not a simple civil infraction, mailing your $200 citation or anything like that. So they will be going in front of a judge soon. They haven't been there on that case.
How do you know where prohibited area is?
The Department of Agriculture, Division of Aquaculture out of Palm Bay posts, if you go on their website, they have maps of all these areas showing you what's conditionally approved, conditionally restricted, prohibited, or approved. And that area is known as Area 8802 in this county. That's from State Route 206 down to the county line. There's no shellfish at all in Flagler. And then the other area around there is 9202, which goes from 206 all the way up to just above Pine Island, north part of town. So it's on there to open areas and closed areas. And also, another case I'm getting is several people will go into Salt Run and they will venture down into the state park, because that's one area where you can actually harvest by land and walk in up to your knees in the muck. There's a time of year where people are oystering, usually between Thanksgiving and the Super Bowl, because they want to have oyster roast in the cooler weather. And we've probably had 3 or 4 smaller cases like that, where people are recreational harvesting, because again, you can get to it by your foot. And what happens is a lot of people will just go right by the park boundary sign, and that's where the zone stops, and no oyster in there because it hasn't been picked as clean as the open area. And that's not open, conditionally approved, which gets shut down quite a bit. So we've probably had about 3 or 4 of those cases recently, particularly, but now the Super Bowl's over. I was going to say particularly during the football season and playoffs. Now Super Bowl's over, that will probably die down as it typically does, plus the weather will get warmer. That's all I have on, I don't have any big fisheries cases or haven't had any lately. So that's all we have on oysters. Manatees, I think, I don't know if I explained last month or this last month, I can't remember now. Pardon?
In December, you covered it.
Okay, yes, I wasn't here last month because I brought a brain fart, whatever. So, it looks like we're having serious problems still down in Brevard with the die-offs from lack of food, lack of eelgrass and other stuff down there. So, last week, the report I just found out today, they probably, within the week, they probably took about 150 to 170 carcasses to the local landfill down there. So, the biologists in Jacksonville, which cover this area, anticipate as the weather gets warmer, these manatees will start coming up here. So we're kind of on alert for that. We have a system between Lieutenant Brock, who you met a few months ago, who's a new lieutenant in Flagler, for mostly inland stuff, Flagler St. John's. He and I met the captain today, so we have a plan as to how we're set up to deal with it, tow them and dispose of them. The landfill off of it's the one there off of 207 in Vermont. I'm trying to remember the name of that landfill up there, but that's where the carcasses will go. it's not just Fish and Wildlife involved in this, or Fish and Wildlife law enforcement, it's our biologists and also U.S. Fish and Wildlife. The federal people are funding a lot of the ability to remove and dispose of their carcasses.
So you guys are anticipating a lot of manatee dive up here? Is that-
Not a lot necessarily, but as the weather warms and the manatees will migrate north, they're anticipating that, and we don't have nearly as many up here as we year round as we do down in Brevard. I worked in Brevard or South Volusia, because they've had more seagrasses or more.
We don't have much.
We don't. So so what they're anticipating is the ones that are fatigued and may have avoided, what's the word I'm looking for? Dying down there may just pass on their way up here, going further north, because when they get here, there's nothing to eat. They're going to try to keep going north, and they just may expire at that time. So typically, we don't have these big populations. You'll see pockets of them now and then. You'll see males chasing a female into one of the creeks and splashing around like she's being attacked, but it's not. It's a mating thing. We get that sort of thing, but we don't get like a resident population like they did when I worked down in Brevard County, or when I worked in Fort Myers and Lee County or Collier County, places like that. So that's what we're anticipating, Commissioners, the fact that some of the ones make Fort South may be too weak to make it out of here, and they just pass, whether in this area versus making up to Duval or Nassau or Georgia. So
I contacted the manatee contact person, that woman up in Jacksonville.
Nadia Gordon.
Yeah, about that seagrass mitigation bill that would just add to their manatee principalities. And she directed it to someone at the state level, so I guess she didn't want to get involved politically. But I appreciate this update. It's really tragic. And just anecdotally, attended the Bassmasters Elite Series in Palaca over the weekend.
Yep.
And one of the top winning anglers noted up there on the stage, basically blasted the fact that the St. Johns River no longer looks the way it used to, and that it's missing all the eelgrass that made it famous for bass fishing. So we do have eelgrass in the river, or we did.
Do the manatees eat that too?
Yeah.
Yes, that's probably
So that's more of a freshwater or brackish?
more fresh water.
And it's also, it doesn't like deep water like we have, does it need sunshine to grow?
Almost all your seagrasses are going to be in water 4 feet or less.
Okay.
Because it doesn't need the sun for photosynthesis, yes. If everyone remembers their basic science class from high school.
So we've got the same problems. We don't have a total ecosystem collapse like the Indian River Lagoon, but if we don't watch out, we're going to.
And the big part of the River Lagoon is it doesn't get a big flush with tides. It's kind of stagnant. As someone worked there, I worked for Brevard, and I worked south of Brevard and Indian River for a year and a half. And I just know the other areas are going there on certain details. Any other more questions on manatees, and I'll wrap it up. Okay. Last thing, personnel, and this is really for Commissioner Flowers, because I know you called me over
Yes,
the
I
last
did.
meeting.
Yes,
Did you ever get a hold of Deputy Chief Boyd?
I mean, I did not, but I was able to find the information. I don't know if I could just relay that right now, because we had discussed very briefly that I heard that there was something up in front of the legislature for 25% across the board rates for state law enforcement, which includes FWC that services so well. Tell you the truth, FWC's only state law enforcement I've ever seen right here. I
Troopers.
go on the interstate with the troopers, so you guys.
Well, around here, yes,
Right.
that's true.
I mean, you are state
That's
enforcement. And just so these guys know for sure, you guys can arrest people in the air, on the ground, in the water, in the woods. You don't just go up and down the river on the boat, right? Anyways,
Yes, that's
you guys
accurate.
can do whatever you gotta do, you're not a
Wow.
park ranger. Anyways, what I found out was this is just a part of a budget proposal, and our own Congressman Renner is the head of the budget committee. So really, all we could do to help now, I called Congressman Renner and Senator Travis Hudson, is just let everybody know, working on that, if you want to, of course, budget proposal, that, like me, I'd like to see that 25% across the board take place. Although it's 20% for the new guys, isn't it?
Well, that's what I was gonna tell you. PBA put out a blast, told the officer to blast, some sort of document. I'm not a member of PBA anymore for a lot of reasons I won't get into, but I still benefit from it. So my officers who are PBA members, got something on Friday, and so we chatted around on our squad, text group. There's the 25% was always nice, but I always told them that's, you know, they're looking for the moon and be lucky to get, you know, a star too. So right now it's what looks like is being negotiated is anywhere between 5 and 15%. And and there might be years of service in there depending on what percentage you get, or also bringing up the base officer salary to $50,000. And if they do that, then that person, or those people only get 5% versus maybe people with more longevity get a little bit more. It's a little bit of a mishmash right now, but the 25% doesn't. I never thought that was realistic because I've been doing this for 30 years. As I tell my officer, he's like, it's, you know, it's like a scene from Back to the Future, and Marty says, hey, this is a good one, I've seen this before, like, I don't remember that. But I've been through this before about 7 or 8 times in my career, and it's typically been, we propose 10% in a big 2.5 or 3. So if we get, you know, 12 to 15, that would be very gracious, and that would be great. But right now, there's a range in there that PBA is still working with the legislators about.
What's PBA?
Police Benevolent Association. It's a union, and there's a state chapter of it.
So I'm sure they're working on it hard, but just again to say.
Well, they're working on it.
Okay. Just to say, again, no base salary raise in 20 years, while our cost of living has gone up. I think the last thing I thought was almost 65%. Certainly 45% in the state of Florida. That's not including what's happened this last year. I'm just saying that's from the government accounting office there for the state of Florida. But anything anybody want to call, I would do all my support towards that.
Well, we appreciate it. Yeah, the Deputy Chief Boyd would have been our contact if you called over. It sounds like you
I call
located the
everybody.
right
I try
people.
to call 5 people a day that are on duty. If anybody has any time, everybody, so that everybody on that budget committee hears from as many people as possible. But I'm sorry, sir, I cannot believe that they would go below 25%. And I don't know how you could possibly go below to 50 on starting wages and expect to get good folks. That you expect perfect performance out of it.
Well, as Lieutenant Harwood could attest, there's probably 7 or 8 former FWC people that I used to work with. We're actually on my program working his.
Oh, I know you've got all that.
Yeah. So.
I'm glad for share it.
So, you know, that's what happens. Some people, the novelty of doing this job wears off in 3 or 4 years, and so they do go to an agency that's better for them in terms of being able to promote and stay here. I mean, I had to go to Ocala for years before I could come back and get this lieutenant position. I had to take some dues over in Marion County, and I'm a coastal guy, so I did not like going in the woods and getting, chiggers and ticks all over me, but I did it. So, yeah, I mean, it's frustrating sometimes to state law enforcement.
And that is important because they're out there digging up our history in the woods. I know somebody asked me for an email a couple of years ago. They were over at Stokes Landing and knew somebody over there digging up Spanish things out of it.
Yeah, artifacts. We come across that. Actually around here occasionally too. There's places like Fort Mosaic, things like that have a big history. But yes, you'll get that in inland places like Allen National Forest in particular. So that's all I have right now. Anything else? All right, thank you.
Just shy of the 30-minute mark.
Well, 3 times 10 is 30 minutes.
We need a buzzer.
Any other government representatives? Jim, you got nothing to say? All right. Great. That brings us to Secretary Treasurer's report.
Okay, for the city police law enforcement overtime, again, they committed was 8,000. To date, we've spent 400. The St. John's County Sheriff's Department overtime of the 25,000 we budgeted, we spent 72,87. Really, there hasn't been anything from the prior month as far as no dredging yet that we spent. Navigation repairs hasn't been spent. We did spend for St. Johns County radiation detectors at $13,550. In the Florida State Board of Administration Fund A, never sent a bank statement yet, but normally it's about $3 a month. So basically it's still $23,170. In the operating account, there's $432,905. In the money market account, that's the total of 2.6 million, 2.611. There was $111 of interest, and no, I checked the yield, Jane. Yeah, no, so far but the interest rates are getting ready to go up, so there might be a higher yield coming through, is what they told me. So I'll see what they have. It's very difficult to just find another bank because you have to have a specific bank to cover our funds. In the reserve, we just keep the 1.5 million in there anyway. So we budgeted $621,283 for our tax revenue. So far, we received $527,850. We're still expecting $527,800. No, I'm sorry. We're still expecting $93,400, which we will get piecemeal probably in the next few months.
Is that just people paying their real estate property taxes like?
Yeah, if they don't want to pay, well, they still have till April to get, they get the percentage. So yeah, we don't get the whole thing in by now.
Thank you.
Yeah, any other questions or discussion on the Secretary Treasurer's report? Okay, next one is approval of minutes from the January 18th, 2022 regular meeting. Any discussion, modification, Tom?
There's one typo. Page 4, third paragraph, along the road, just D has one L.
Has two, yeah, you wrote it two L's, I saw that too.
TILAN.
Any other modifications? Okay.
With the
Tom,
change.
moving to approve with that modification, you have a second?
No, I don't know.
I need to abstain because I wasn't here.
Oh, right, okay, yeah, so I will second, all in favor? Aye.
No.
Opposed?
No.
That's a no and an abstention.
How does that work?
We're, with 4, is that still going to be considered a majority vote? And Sandy, your reason for voting now is because?
Because like always, he never mentions, I say important things like Taylor was non-compliant. When I sent y'all pictures of Taylor Engineer's job of asphalt all over the beach down in Summerhaven, these things don't get mentioned, so no, if you don't mention the important things that Commissioner said, I can't vote yes.
Okay, so what's our,
Chris
I
will
think we
be,
need to kick it to next month's agenda so that Chris can vote on that. So we'll be approving minutes from this meeting and on the previous meeting.
Why are you abstaining?
I can't vote on something when I didn't hear what happened.
well, it's also, all those minutes are audio in case you ever want to listen.
And that sounds like a delightful use of money.
Yeah. But they're all there, all there.
And I apologize for not listening to them, but I haven't, and I don't feel right about voting on something that I didn't listen to. I'm sorry.
That's fine. We'll kick it to the next meeting then. Good. No engineering report. Taylor has nothing new to report.
See, I had questions for Taylor, real serious questions for them, but they didn't show.
Okay, but none of there were no agenda items that hit on anything that Taylor was
I
actually.
have, I promised to make too, and he's supposed to be here. I mean, we don't have any projects, if that was the case, why would they ever come, because we don't do projects. But no, I did have questions.
Next up is old business, vote on grant application from the Matanzas Riverkeeper, all commissioners. As discussed, Sandra could not make it today, but I believe we all were here for her presentation, and we all also had a chance to read her grant application as well. Did anybody have any additional discussion?
Elise, would you refresh my memory, because I've read that a while back now, what was the total amount on that grant?
What was the ask for?
It's 2,500.
2,500.
Originally they're seeking $5,000 at $15 an hour, but they're only seeking half of the funds from us, and they're going to seek the other half from another agency.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and move to approve of this grant request from the Matanzas River Keeper, so they can do this water quality monitoring work and get it transferred over to DEP, so we have an informed public.
I'll second that.
Yeah. Any other discussion? Motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None? Great. Motion passes unanimously. Next up is new business, security and search and rescue electronics upgrade. Patrick Harvey, Regional Operations Officer.
Good afternoon. I'll be brief. Officer Harvey with the Signal Police Department reading. And if I may just touch on some of the Commissioner Flowers asked before about the bump that was on the prison line. He has been issued a criminal summons, waiting to see what happens with that, to see if he actually acts on it or not, or if a warrant is issued. I'll let you know how that goes.
Thank you. Just so the board knows, a lot of people, it's not uncommon for folks out there to sell a boat and take payments on it, and then they fancy themselves as being a bank. This happens a lot, so y'all should be aware. So they keep the boat registered in their name, they don't keep any insurance on it, and they give it away. Somebody walks away with that vessel. It is still their vessel when they do that, right, Mr. Harvey?
Yes, ma'am.
And
Yes,
they're
ma'am.
still legally responsible for it when they pretend to be a bank. Because, it's just a bank. This goes on a lot, so I just had a lot of constituents say that we want, because the state requires no insurance, they really want us to make sure that we follow up on accountability.
Yes,
So I
ma'am.
appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm not gonna sit and read the application and bore you with that. I'll just go over the basics of it. The reason I'm asking for this is I've inherited a vessel that does not have the proper equipment that is necessary to continue with what I'm doing. The two pieces of equipment that I'm looking to purchase would give us basically a real-time collaboration with all the local, state, and federal agencies that I deal with on a daily basis. Some of the group at this point now, their heads are hung because I can't keep them up. But it would also give me the opportunity to be working in the times of day that are less favorable, rain, fog, things like that, where the camera would come into place. It would be an upgrade to the radar reading system that's on the vessel now, that was purchased, I believe, with some of the funding from here. A while back, I don't know much about that. But this would bring me kind of into where I need to be electronically so that I can assist and be a collaborative team player with the other agencies. And everything past this proposal will be paid for by the city, maintenance, installation, as well as any kind of upgrades that would be necessary.
Because you probably need it for the next couple of years.
Yes, ma'am.
For sure, we plan on it.
Chris, is this similar to the communications equipment we bought for y'all a while back?
Yes.
It's kind of the same system?
Yeah, that's what we were trying to do, is get everything
Right.
together.
Okay. And what is the ask amount?
The ask is 23,660.39. And that would be for all necessary equipment and yes, sir. 23,660.39.
That means you have to take on everything.
Yes, ma'am. And like I mentioned, all of the upgrades, installation, and so there'll be no further ask as far as the system is concerned with these products. It will be all taken care of by the city.
Elise, what bucket of committed funds does this come out of?
Yeah. Well, because it was non-committed, but we do have unspecified marine projects. So that's unspecified because we didn't have it in the committed. So that's, well, basically what it is that's the leftover from the budget items that we already budgeted. So, and you have to have a balanced budget. So that is the difference. That is not specified.
I need to approve that.
have we seen the grant application already, or?
Yes.
I sent them all, yeah, they were all,
Okay, sorry.
And I believe I also sent the quote as well, that all came in with supposed to come in with the grant application.
when I look, I'll look for it.
Cost, how much is the city funding?
I tried to get an estimate of that, what it would cost us to do the installation and things like that. I don't have that.
That's just getting the product.
This is just getting the product in hand, and then everything else will be covered by the city. Because we work through the city motor pool, we don't have an hourly rate with them because they're just hourly employees, so the city doesn't pay that. Because we don't have, I have no way to rate that for you, as far as what that would cost, and as far as what it would cost to maintain, I also don't have that until it comes up for me.
So this is 100% of the cost of the equipment?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And then one final question, and Chris, you may be able to weigh on this as well. What do we think the life cycle of this equipment is going to be?
With proper maintenance, anywhere between, and updates, 10 years, 5 to 10 years. With proper maintenance.
So these electronics do require a couple of years he's gonna need.
Because some salt water.
Do you think it would be helpful for each of your agencies to let us know for budgeting purposes, like do an assessment of what equipment you think is going to need to be replaced and when that's going to happen so we can budget?
By, say, July. It's really difficult when you have to, because by July, we have to pretty much set our budget as to what we're gonna, and then, but then we have only August basically to come up with where these budgeted items are going. It's usually just, the basic budgeted items you could do right away, your telephone, your port rent, all this other stuff. But that stuff, if they don't have.
It's possible for us to anticipate it.
No, we can't. We can't. That's why we have the unspecified amount.
But 1 year, that could be a lot.
I mean, yeah.
If the agencies could maybe get back to us within the next couple of months of, and not specific grant requests, but hey, it looks like these systems are going to have to be replaced over the next.
We may be coming to you for money. Because June 1st starts June 1st starts the actual budget start where I have to, yeah.
All right, well, we have a motion on the floor.
Do we have a second? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Great.
Thank you.
Officer,
Let's see, next item is new business. Schedule time for new meetings.
actual invoice with the amount for me to give it to you. I can't do third. Right, right, and I would pay the city. Yeah, okay.
We can ask the facility manager if there's a time later that we could potentially do the meetings. Is that the issue?
Just so it doesn't coincide with the calendar, that's all.
Elise, could you email X-Max?
Can't do it on the third Tuesday.
Right,
Yeah, you can't have it the third Tuesday. We have to have the room with the microphones and everything set up. So we have to have it here. So I'd have to check the schedule.
Yeah, could you just ask them if there are any other openings on the schedule? There might not be, but it would be worth us knowing, I guess, just to see if.
The times,
Now, you law enforcement, they also prefer to come during the business hours will be done, you don't want to come at
Right, I don't know whether you're going to come later.
at 6 o'clock, well,
3, if we could at least finish at 3, so we could just take up on that.
but pick a different day. Is that what you're,
Potentially, so it doesn't potentially conflict with.
like, we have to be out by 5:30. If this meeting were to go longer, we couldn't do it. But if it's another day where there's no other meeting behind us,
That would not be the third Tuesday.
okay, I could check into that.
Any other discussion on that?
I was just saying, check it and come back with this next month.
Yeah, I'm just gonna call, yeah.
Good, next item is court consultant of all commissioners.
agenda, but I do believe that, we need to do this, but there has to be some study done, there has to be some, search done to find a qualified person who will do the way we had it before. Ken Crowder, was our consultant.
Don't do anything.
And he was like on call. He would come to our meetings, and if we had a specific thing to talk about, or we wanted to get with him, he would charge us for that amount of time, and it was never as hard. Does he have an hourly rate, or how do you do that?
Yeah, we didn't use him, he wasn't, I mean, we only used him to use the, he did the handbook, kind of set it up, but we really didn't use him for much of anything, nothing for after that.
Crowder had an incredible resume. But I think the problem is he was so high up, he was running.
Yeah, this was-
from Jacksonville and the airport at the same time. I was kind of hoping to get somebody with a little more boots on the ground, people that were looking at contracts, used to deal with contractors.
Right.
Used to deal with, the things that they like to do.
Yeah, he didn't, none of,
Had to have somebody like that with somebody, and they would have been out there. We would have known way before ahead of time they weren't doing that right. We would have had somebody to say, hey, they didn't get the insurance. Somebody that's really knowledgeable, and I've talked to two people like that that live here. One of Mr. Bill Buckman and the other Roy Gaylor, who actually ran for the board, in the last election. It's amazing. Roy, for example, was the head of, for the United States for the Recreational Ports Associations. We have an amazing amount of talent right here in town, and they want to come and help us get our projects done properly and protect the taxpayers, so. Now this I got from the office was what Mr. Crowder had left. She's gonna make some, copies and email it to you. There's all kinds of reasons that we need. I'm sorry, I don't know how to scan. All kinds of, reasons why we need an executive director.
Okay, well, until we've read that, it sounds like this is not something right to vote on. But is there any other discussion about this issue, or we'll await? You have Sandy's, you have a letter.
no, she's gonna leave that with me. She's gonna leave that with me. I'm gonna scan it at the office and I'm gonna email it to everybody.
Okay, or any additional discussion? Any other business on that? No, let's,
Are you tabling that for next month?
yeah, we'll have a little more information. Next up is website redesign, all commissioners. This has been an agenda item off and on for a few months. I think everybody has at this point probably had an opportunity to go through the website if they so desire to find issues with it. I know I have. I've got a list. Jane, I expect you do as well. I don't know if anybody else does. I guess I'm not sure, from a process perspective, I'm not sure what makes sense here, whether we should just sort of air our grievances, or whether it would make more sense to send them all release, to have you try to address. So the problem is, I guess there's two.
What do you want to bring in and come in, and you can air them directly to,
Yeah.
from Avid Design Group, and they will come in if you like. This way.
They have a contract release, it's over 10 years now, right?
I don't.
The website people.
Yeah. Yeah.
The address is still 88 Liberia Street on the website.
Oh, that I have to. Yeah, that's probably my fault because I'm supposed to tell them what to change.
4 years ago, they changed it, and just saying they don't seem.
Let's have them come to the next meeting and discuss, as Matt said.
So do you want me to contact Avid Design and bring them in?
Yeah, that would be great. But before they do though, it might make sense, and again, I'm not really entirely sure how this works from a process perspective. We have, there are some problems with the website that are sort of very easy to clearly articulate. The address is wrong. There are typos in the About Us section. There are some dead links that I found, things like that. But there are also, I think, some more conceptual issues with the website that I don't know that we might be worth discussing, or might be worth hammering out a little bit before then. Should we have a high quality scan of our beautiful navigation map that we have? Should that be linked somewhere on the website? Because it's not right now.
I mean, yeah, there's a map of the. But that's.
Do we need a section on past board members at this point? Is that useful to anybody? I'm not sure it is. Things like that. I don't know how best to address that, because none of us have website in front of us right now, and I'm sure everybody here had a sort of a different idea of what the problems were with it when they looked through it, so.
Right. And just to kind of echo on that, you know, one of the biggest questions that I received when I was running through this office was, well, what do you guys do? And you can't, that's not accurate.
I'm not,
Hey, Cindy, let's let her finish.
I'm sorry, you asked a question, what would you?
It was rhetorical.
But one of the things that I would like to be able to point to is we have a really valuable resource here that a lot of other agencies here locally don't have, and that's the report back from all of this law enforcement here in the room and government agencies. It would be really awesome to have the website serve as an educational platform for things like the boating accident that happened today, the illegal oyster harvesting, the manatee deaths. You know, this is awesome information that we are privileged to get. So Island Water Conservation does it.
And we would have to let them, they have no clue until we actually send over all that information to them, you know.
So
Yeah.
I think we just need to establish more of a, you know, I know Tom and Jen Reed.
I know.
He refs my son's football games, they're my neighbors. But I think we just need to have a more interactive
Right.
rapport with them so we can get this information fed. Because this is really valuable stuff, and people want to know, like, they want to know the status of the Butler West boat ramp, you know? I get questions like that all the time. So if we could just have it be more informative, that's probably my overarching concern with the website. Also, it's not very interactive with mobile devices.
Oh, yeah, no.
So anyway, if you could bring the reads in, I don't know who's mainly rocking it, Jen.
Well, yeah, I mostly talk to her.
Yeah, if you could ask her to attend the next meeting so we can, and I'll put my concerns in writing if you want to put yours in.
Yeah, I'll do the same. Maybe we will, everybody email these with your written concerns before the next meeting so that you can circulate them amongst the rest of us, because we can't email to each other.
No, but.
So, yeah, that would be helpful. You could maybe, if we try to do it a couple days before.
Do you want me to give it to the Reeds too in
Well, that's what I was
advance?
gonna say. If you do it a
Yeah,
couple days
because
before,
then
we
they,
can send it to them as
yeah.
well so they can come prepared.
Yep.
And not just be barraged by.
Yeah, I don't want to catch them off guard or anything this
Yeah.
week,
Yeah.
just to make it better.
Good, all right, well, that will be an agenda item for next month as well, and it looks like everybody's got a little bit of homework to do there.
I would say, just very quickly on that, we could use that website to really promote this board, which is what our charter requires us to do. So let's use it to promote the board.
Can I ask you a question? Jim, the city of St. Augustine, do they have a link on your webpage to the port board? You know, it would be good if we could work on something like that.
I don't know.
Well, why don't we look at that between now and the next meeting, to see if we have a link.
Yeah, great. Next up is agenda item E, new business, clarification of sunshine law pertaining to emails, request for sunshine law class, sponsored by the state, Commissioner Flowers.
Yes, I was hollered at a couple meetings ago that I was not supposed to be sending any emails of any kind to my fellow commissioners. This was settled over 2 years ago, well, actually almost 4 now. Mr. Rivers, you know, when I used to come in here and I just kind of blindsided you with stuff, and he said, you know, you need to email this information to us so we have a chance to read it. And I called the state back then, years ago. Is it okay for me to do that? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Then I sent you guys an attorney general opinion right after the last meeting, which said, absolutely, I can send you emails.
You just can't respond to
What
them.
we cannot do is respond or
Yeah.
communicate. I don't want to know what you think about it. We went over this years ago, but instead, you seem to still think I can't send you an email. You're getting paid the big bucks to give us the right answers, and you've hollered at me for your whole year that I'm sending emails illegally to these commissioners, and I have not done a thing like that. Now, my constituents who listen to this probably think I was breaking the law. I want to make it very clear, I was not breaking the law. I sent you an AG opinion to make sure you understood I was not breaking the law. You owe me an apology. You really do. You don't, no, I'm not done. Don't you say a word yet.
To be clear, you
Are you that bad of a lawyer?
Oh my gosh.
Stop with the personal attacks, it makes it so hard to
You are,
function.
you attacked me, you said if I broke the sunshine law, it's an ethical issue. It's not, it's a crime. Please Google, everybody, Google the Florida Commission on Ethics. The scope is that skinny. It has to do with us funneling money into our friends' hands, or our family, or business associates. It does not have anything to do with bad behavior, which is gonna come up in the next meeting. But it was very clear that the AG made it clear. I'm not attacking you personally. You told me I broke the law. I did not. I have provided you with an AG opinion, and you're still telling me that I broke the law.
And
So I'm
I
going
addressed it
to-
in response to that email too.
I'm going to make a
It's
motion that we do
still-
have a little primer on sunshine. You know, it's very common when I was sitting on planning and zoning, we have a, you know, ex parte communications, like 10-minute PowerPoint presentation that was made by the city attorney. I certainly don't think it's a bad idea to further educate ourselves on sunshine law. So I'll make a motion to have a short presentation made on what sunshine law is and how it affects our ability to communicate by email.
Our last attorney did that for us. And gave a complete presentation of, not real long,
Yeah.
very concise
Right.
things. But let me say one thing to Commissioner Flowers, is I feel that when you email the things directly to us commissioners without sending it to, at least first, is bordering on illegal.
But it's not. Again, that's why I sent you the attorney general's opinion. The law is not up to your
In good
interpretation.
judgment, it would be best to simply do that way and not email us.
I used to send that copy to Lisa as well.
And say that you can forward it to us. That would be the safest thing.
Okay, you know the problem with that is, I haven't been getting my emails. I haven't got the minutes for the last 2 months. I had to call this morning or email Clerk Ken and say, where's my email? Where's the minutes? I can't trust, for whatever reason, our email system, and that's not the first time. I've had multiple times where I didn't get emails. You guys didn't, you said you didn't get the emails I sent from Congressman Ritter when all that was going on. Nobody was getting them.
So we have a motion on
And
the
I'm
floor.
not doing anything illegal, and I don't appreciate when you break the law.
Sam, you personally told me that I was going to jail several times since you came onto this commission, so
If you keep-
practice what you preach.
you know,
We have a
You know
motion.
what, if you keep allowing $372,000 contracts to go out without a bid, which is a crime,
Okay, so.
and have nothing to say about it,
You were right.
yeah.
This was wrong. We have a motion on the floor to, have a sunshine law class. Do we have a second?
Can that class please be the state will send somebody to do it properly? Because Mr. Gaston, when he did it, he also told us it was okay for Mr. Piggott to come and talk to everybody privately about his projects, and that was incorrect too.
No,
We really need
we've
somebody.
addressed that as well. You forwarded AG opinion several months ago, it was fully addressed in a memo.
Can we get
He has
somebody
not
else
done
from the
anything
state
about
to
it.
run
We've covered that.
it for minimal charge?
Do we have a second for
I
that
was
motion?
seconded, but I would like to amend it too, to include that it would be presented by our attorney.
You see, I just sent you the clear evidence that he has been wrong, clearly incorrect.
That's a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Yeah.
Okay, so, Tariq, sunshine law presentation. Last agenda.
That's a little bit of guidance there. I think, within the 10 to 15 minute timeframe is the kind of the timeframe that I have experience with when we receive these presentations in the past. We have loaded agendas, but I do think it would be informative.
I will endeavor to have it ready for next time, and mentally I'll be prepared for it to be something to be added to the agenda as time permits, whether it's next time or the time after that, but I'll have something prepared and ready for next time.
15 minutes is never going to be enough time to do a decent sunshine law presentation. The one that Isabel does for the city is much longer than that, and she does it multiple times.
All right, last agenda item is discussion, RE voting infrastructure grant. Commissioner Flowers.
I just sent it to y'all, wanted you to look at it. That we have option there to, do some projects, but then we don't do projects here. Commissioner West asked you a question about the liability a few, meetings ago. Could you answer that question?
Can you be any way specific with that question?
Well, you wrote it down, ask you the other questions too about would we be legal to pay for the city to have a new fuel tank at the city marina? And it was the same meeting, she asked you to come back and let us know what our liability would be if we took a project.
First, it was not the same meeting. You asked it in the prior meeting. I did research that question as you requested, and no, there would not be any problem with us partially or fully paying for the city to upgrade its fuel system at the pier. The second question was one raised by Commissioner West in a later meeting, which I did actually address by email to all commissioners, forwarding a copy of the legislative analysis of pending Bill 620 in the Senate, which gives a very good summary of all of the laws dealing with Burt Harris and the other issues. I sent it that way so that the port would save money and rely upon the state. I'm not done, Commissioner Flowers, and would rely upon the state's analysis of it, summarizing all of those issues rather than pay me to do it. Certainly, if that legislative summary is inadequate for any commissioner, I'll be happy to elaborate upon it. But again, my goal was to do it as efficiently as possible, allowing me to build a port for only, I believe it was 0.4 hours, rather than do a lengthy analysis since one was already there. And it was sent to you, Commissioner Flowers.
You
Just
did
like
not
everything else,
if
you don't check your email,
Didn't get it.
that's your issue, not the ports.
You let me finish now. When I came in here, when you weren't here, I went right up to her and I said, look at this. My emails are not coming through. I can get them for her, but for some reason, so she has contacted the people that do the website. I'll bring my phone to you right now. Your emails are not coming to me.
It's not going to the port. In other words, we have the emails where each person it goes to, like Jane at St. Augustine Port, Tom at St. Augustine Port. That's the emails you have. For some reason, there was a time when Sandy changed her email, and you did let me know at the time. I know, Commissioner Flowers. She changed it to Commissioner Flowers. So I believe I contacted Avid Design to tell them, because they're doing to make sure that everybody gets St. Augustine Port. So it's possible that she wasn't getting them. And so I put another call into Avid to check whether her emails are being forwarded from Commissioner Flowers from St. Augustine Port to Commissioner Flowers.
So it has worked the entire time I've been here until the last 2 months. Someone has gone in there, flipped the switch that forwards anything that goes to Sandy that forwards.
Because I think you're for some reason, that's the only one.
I don't get it. I get it from you. I get it down.
Because when I send it, I don't send it to Port, I send it to Commissioner Flowers.
Okay, so
That's why.
Sandy, I have a question. Is your Commissioner Flowers, is that a Gmail account?
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you gone to spam and checked to see if places have some spam? Because mine, his has gone to spam for me twice in the last 4 months as well. And you have to continue, you have to affirm.
I'm looking for that. I know to go look for Sandy. She tells me what day and what time it came through. But it was simply not coming through. So
Okay, well, we're going to settle that problem by tomorrow. I mean, I'm going to go through this. Yeah.
Yeah, did you have anything else to discuss on the infrastructure grant?
There's only 3 money out there. For example, projects like over at Comanche, the entrance way has got a big sandbar in it. It needs a jetty, and on both sides needs a jetty and a dredging. You can't even get into Comanche, and that's all public. We have decided to do a project. There's grants out there, and I think July was the last time we asked for it.
Very good. That brings us to public comment.
Slavin box 314, Slavin.com, I've written and talked to y'all about the 7th generation test. I don't hear any of that here today. I don't hear y'all talking about the future. I don't hear y'all talking about global ocean level rise. I don't hear y'all having Dr. Michael Shirley and the engineer from the University of Florida who are experts on Summer Haven making a presentation. This board needs to get down to business. Y'all need to stop bickering. Y'all need to fire him. You need to get a new attorney and then environmental attorney who is qualified and knows the subject matter of the court. This guy was duped into the job by a prior attorney who was incompetent. And for 20 years, for some 20 years, the members of this court did not have bonds. Ms. Flowers raised the question, raised the issue. She was right. Mr. Peak wanted to charge me $900 to look for non-existent documents on the fact that for 20 years this board did not have bonds. That's not government service. That's not competent lawyering. It's disrespectful, and I have heard the way that he talks to me and the way that he talks to Ms. Flowers, and it is totally consistent with what you'll read from the Florida bar about how he treated a deponent in a deposition and basically tried to keep the guy from leaving the group.
That's feedback.
Well, I think it's false. Whatever it was, it's sanctionable, and it's evidence of his lack of character. We have so many good environmental attorneys in the state of Florida. I'm sure, well, I sent you all an email from the $900. Check it out, and see how he responded to a very simple request by trying to demand a $900 deposit. And that is consistent. It's like dying in the stream.
It's abuse of law.
Yes, it's abuse of power. It's consistent with how the very first time I ever made a request of this district, the Secretary Treasurer, who's not an employee, she's an independent contractor, demanded to charge me $50 an hour. I understand that Ms. Flowers, before she was elected, actually had to pay $50 an hour.
I paid $400 to get some emails.
Yeah, this is intolerable. This is not government service. This is racketeering. This is an abuse of government for private benefit for this lawyer. And what is the status of the Summerhaven litigation? Why is the engineer for the district not here? They used to attend every single meeting. We need a new engineer. We need a new lawyer. Now, as to the IT issue, when was the last time the contract with the IT contractor was renewed?
Never.
Well, I don't believe in ever bring contracts, and I know that when Ben Rich came in as county commission chair, they redid a bunch of contracts that hadn't been bid for 20 years, including insurance, where the county was getting ripped off. I think people need to stop seeing government as being, as FDR said on October 31st, 1936 in Madison Square Garden, as an appendage or an annex to their own affairs. We've got government contractors profiting from the district. I'm talking. I got to talk. Be quiet. Could you please gather people in the back who are making remarks? Mr. Taylor, remember? This is our government. This is our board. Y'all are elected, and I think you need a new attorney. You need to write a job description for the attorney that includes environmental in the title, not just Mr. Bedslow designating the next person in line to get the contract. That was bid rigging. That was just wrong. This guy's never had any experience. Basically, he's not the kind of lawyer that you need. Zero experience. Needs a charisma bypass. Needs to apologize to Commissioner Flowers and me and other people that he's disrespected. But he needs a new career outside of this room and outside of this board. And by the way, I think you really should meet in St. Augustine City Hall, because then your meetings can be broadcast live with the city, and your office, your records are in that building. And they'll give you a parking pass, Ms. West. They'll give you a parking pass that gives you the right to park for free in the city lot as a member of the board. I'm sure Mr. Fitty can arrange that. That's not the issue. The issue is these meetings are inaccessible to most people. They need to be held at a date and time that does not conflict with St. Johns County. And when I raised that issue before, Mr. West said St. Johns County Commission needed to change the date and time of their meetings. That's not responsive either. That's not good government. Anyway, thank you for your listening and for your work. And I look forward to your having me this year. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Nothing. Comments by commissioners. Tom?
Just wanted to do the invocation this morning.
That was Commissioner Flowers.
Thank you.
You missed it.
No comment from committee, Jane?
Yeah, just a few comments. I just want to note that we've had more meetings on Summer Haven than we could possibly shake a stick at, over the course of time that I've been out here at least. In terms of forward thinking, you know, I like to think that's all I do. And we just provided the Matanzas Riverkeeper grant money to address water quality concerns within our basin here. So I think we are doing good work. The divisiveness on this board is surely not productive, and takes away from what I think we're trying to accomplish. In terms of the request to move it down to the city of St. Augustine City Hall, of course, we have parking passes. That's not the issue. It's the public participation that I'm concerned about. It's the public struggling to find a place to park downtown. I want members of the public to be able to easily access our meetings, park in the parking lot, and be able to attend. I would love for us to get the visual AV equipment going here. We have the capacity here at the City of St. Augustine Beach City Hall to have this be televised. All of the city council meetings and planning and zoning board meetings are televised. It should not be an issue. So I would really like for us to explore that as an option, because I am all for maximum public participation. So if we can look into that, I think that's an appropriate request. Those are my comments.
One thing,
Sandy, go ahead.
I just want to respond to your comment. One thing about it is that the entire city of St. Augustine is in our district, so one thing about downtown is a lot of people can bike and walk there. Just a comment about that. They could come downtown for a whole lot of people, at least it's like bike and walk.
And you know, City of St. Augustine Beach walks are right there. Now you wouldn't do it. Is that your only comment, Sandy?
No. My turn?
Yeah.
Yeah, my comment I would like to make is the last county commission, apparently, I'm not sure if y'all aware of this, the county gave permission to the Friends of Summer Haven to privately hire a contractor and go mess with our breach and our beach and stuff down there now. They're working under an open contract we gave them to finish the Summer Haven River project. I'm not at all comfortable. Now, we know what they've gone down there with Mr. Turnbull. They've dumped all kinds of stuff out of that river, electrical stuff, asphalt. I got an email that says somebody ran over a construction nail down on the beach at Cemetery because the homeowners apparently driving on the beach to get their home. So we need to touch base with the county, because right now I'm not in agreement with that. That's not what we gave them a permit to do, was to turn everything over to private citizens with the public trust. They already think they own the place down here. The road that the public paid for, immediately when it was finished, it's not a road, it's a smash and it says road closed. You can't park down there. People, I went down there just to go look at our project. Somebody came running out of the house, told me to get off the road. That was legal park. So we got a problem. So what? The county gave permission to private individuals at Summer Haven to go in with machinery into our public trust. I'd sure like to have somebody from the county come and follow up on that, because I don't think that we gave them a permit to do that. And if y'all would think about that and look at it for the next meeting, would you put that down there, Ms. Elise? Because right now, according to Dwayne Kent this morning, the county attorney is negotiating a contract with private individuals to work in our public trust. And we never gave a permit to do that. We could get some more information for that for the next meeting, would be great.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
Great. Our next meeting is, I believe, March the 15th. Is that correct?
March 16th, isn't it?
I'm looking at the 2022 calendar that says Tuesday, March 15th, right?
Right.
Great. All right. Until then, this meeting is adjourned.
Tom?